Well, my name is Roger Labby. I'm the camp director for Camp Good News in Maine. Child Evangelism Fellowship is basically the organization, and that was incorporated in 1946. And it's going to make 50 years next year that Camp Good News is officially up and running. It is an overnight camp, all week long. It is a camp that many children who have no other means to attend camp come. Parents sometimes don't drop off their kids. They won't drop off their kids at a local church, but they'll drop them off at camp, even though they know it's a Bible camp. And so it's a great opportunity, and the gospel is presented all day long. How much more do you want?
You're who you are and how you got there. How's that?
Well, I'm originally from Madawaska, Maine. It's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. It's one of the corners. And I was coming to Camp Good News since 1982. And I said, I'm never going back again in my life the first time I went there. Because there were so many needy children, and I couldn't fix it. But I knew who could fix it. So we volunteered for 20 years, every year, my wife and I. We traveled to Western Maine, Camp Good News, 1/2 hour west of Augusta. And since 2003, we've been full-time staff. So no regrets whatsoever. We love it. And you make relationships with children, and they make relationships with you that last a lifetime.
My name is Hal Shurtleff. I am the co-founder and director of Camp Constitution. And our camp is kind of a unique entity. We're all volunteer except for me. I'm the only full-time person. We run one week-long camp, and it's a family camp as well as unaccompanied minors. And that's sort of when people think of camps, they usually think of children. They don't think of families. Or if they think of family camps, they think, well, then children unaccompanied camp. And so we're both. We also have programs for youngsters as well as teenagers, high school, and even college age. I guess our philosophy can be summed up in our motto: honoring the past, teaching the present, and preparing the future. One of the things that many people, a lot of Christians, have very little knowledge of this little thing called the U.S. Constitution. And we like to, when our campers leave, they have a very good understanding, not just of the Constitution, but also of some of the important issues of the day. And they're motivated to become leaders in their community. And we have classes, and we actually have what we call a Patriot Camp for the youngsters from 5 to 11. That's modeled after a Vacation Bible School program. And we have a lady from the Sons and Daughters of the American Revolution that helps to teach that, as well as a retired school teacher, Edith Kraft, that comes out from New Jersey. And our campus in Western Massachusetts. This will be our 11th camp. We used to be in New Hampshire, but we found a nice place, Lakeside Christian Camp and Retreat Center, and we love it there. And we're a charitable trust, so we do have year-round activities. We have a speakers bureau, we have a radio show, a publishing arm, and I'd like to get some of you guys on the show to talk about some of these camps too. I think it'd be great. And we speak at homeschool groups, or we set up tables at homeschool events. So we have, as mentioned, a publishing arm too. So we keep busy.
Wonderful. Sir?
Yeah, my name is Roger Black, and I'm the camp director at Living Waters Bible Camp and Conference up in northern Maine. We're located on East Grand Lake, which is just across the line in Aroostook County. East Grand Lake's a beautiful 23-mile-long lake. It's an international lake. The opposite shore is New Brunswick, so we're right on the Canadian border. My wife and I have started working there 43 years ago. This will be our 43rd summer coming up. It's basically, we have three aspects to our camp program. We run a family camp. We have some cottages and a small motel unit and an RV park where families can come, and we run a program for families. We also run a traditional overnight resident youth camp, and those ages vary from week to week. We do some for younger kids, and we do a couple of weeks of sports camps where the emphasis is on basketball and soccer, which is a couple of our more popular weeks, and then some teen weeks as we get further along into the summer. And in spring and fall, we also do a number of family retreat weekends, all the holiday weekends like Columbus Day and Labor Day weekend, and then a Christian law enforcement weekend we do every year in September. We start our season really upcoming here at the end of May with a pastors conference. And so it's really a ministry for kids as well as for families. And then the third part of our summer program is our wilderness adventure trips. Those are all off-site trips, and the kids just come and meet at camp. They might stay overnight one night. They pack their gear and maybe a short orientation time to make sure they're all ready to go, and then they're gone for some of them are just weekend trips, 2 or 3 days, and then we have had some trips that will go 8 or 10 days, and then they're gone basically canoeing, hiking trips throughout northern Maine and sometimes into Quebec and into New Brunswick. So those are kind of the activities that we do. As far as, philosophy on the front of our summer brochure, we put that every year. What we hope to do is 3 things we want to accomplish. That's teaching the Word, make sure that the kids get, and the adults as well, while they're there, get a good dose of biblical teaching. It's sharing the gospel. We want all the guests that come to camp to hear the gospel of what Jesus Christ did for them on the cross, and have an opportunity to make a decision regarding that. And as a result of that, we hope to see lives changed, because we really firmly believe that camp is an ideal environment to minister to the needs of young people. And I think our generation of young people have some tremendous, there's a real void in a lot of their relationships. A lot of them are coming, more and more of them are coming from dysfunctional homes and broken homes, and they don't have proper role models. They're coming from single parent homes. A lot of them coming out of the foster care system, where they're in different homes for months. Every summer they come. Sometimes they're coming to camp, and when they leave camp, they go into a different home from when they came. So a lot of really needy kids. The kids just need to be loved on.
Roger, if I can interrupt you, I totally agree with everything you're saying, but if you don't mind, I'm just going to let the next gentleman, and I will come back.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Chris Pleasance, and I'm the director of Edge Camps. We're a unique camp. We used to be Mountain View Bible Camp, and we've changed the direction of our camp, where we're more into the fine arts, education, and sports with a biblical worldview. This year we have, at our camps, we have a music camp, we have a drama camp, we have a culinary arts camp, robotics, a soccer, and volleyball camp. The one thing that we are trying to do is really trying to give young people a place to go where they can feel safe. They can also get the right view of the scriptures, and to actually enjoy something that they have an interest in. We're finding out even more as we have started this, that robotics is becoming a big thing, especially with homeschoolers, and it's becoming big for them to come to camps like this because of how expensive it is to do it on their own. And so we are very excited that we can do this, and we bring in, for every one of our camps, we bring in somebody that's specific in that field, and that they can come in and really help the kids to be better, not only in the fine arts or the education or the sports, but also be better spiritually in their life.
My name is Steve Rivers. I'm the director for New England Frontier Camp in Lovell, Maine, which is in southwestern Maine. We're located right at the foothill of the White Mountains and on beautiful Kezar Lake, so we're been blessed with a beautiful location. Our camp is primarily a Christian camp for boys, so our week-long summer camp programs are typically they're overnight programs. The boys come in and get to experience a wide variety of different things that they might not get to experience otherwise. Archery, canoeing, kayaking, riflery, the types of things that you would picture enjoying at camp, with a particular emphasis on spiritual development and spiritual growth. Our missional organization statement is really to build dynamic disciplers for Christ. And so that's our program is very much based on that, and we are celebrating our 70th year in ministry to boys and to young men this year, so we're very excited about that. We're also in addition to our summer camp programs, the week-long camps that boys ages 8 to 17 can attend, we also have leadership components of that where they could do a 6-week-long counselor and training program, which is an intensive. It really challenges these boys spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. Really, we look at it as a cornerstone for them to step into manhood. And I know I can speak personally, having gone through that and having known many others that have. It's a dynamic opportunity to really make that step into manhood under the leadership and discipleship of godly men, which is fantastic. We do also offer, on Labor Day weekend, we have a family camp program, which is very popular and really gives Christian families the opportunity to come in, enjoy the fellowship and each other's company, and have the opportunity to experience some of the things that the kids get to enjoy during camp, and just use that as a great spiritual development and bonding time as a family. And then, of course, throughout the year, we do have other events that we do as well, weekend retreats and getaways, and leadership training and equipping conferences and things like that. But the primary core of what we do is that single gender boys ministry, which is so important. As Roger mentioned earlier, kids today need so many different things. And our way of doing that is through our rustic outdoor environment, and that single gender gives them the opportunity really for boys to be boys. And that term has sort of been co-opted and labeled in a negative context, particularly in the news in the last couple of years. But the truth is, boys are different than girls, and men are different than women, and anybody that is a woman certainly can attest to that fact.
Yeah.
I'm glad all the men amen that. That was good. You'd be in trouble if you didn't. But that's the reality. The reality is God created us differently, and so we recognize that, and we see that day in and day out during our camp programs in the ways that the boys interact with one another, and the way that they learn, the way that they adapt to new things, and it just gives them an environment where they're able to do that in a powerful way.
Wonderful, thank you. The second question I'd like to ask is a logistical one, the hard facts and logistics of your camp. If you wish to talk about money, you can do that as well. But basically the who, what, and when, and where kind of stuff, and where can people get more information about your camp?
Well, Camp Good News is pretty unique. It's got quite a history. In the 1800s, there was a Methodist campground, and circuit riding preachers would come from all over, and they'd pitch tents, and they'd stay there for months at a time or all summer. Well, I mean, that's 172 years of ministry to families, children, and sharing the gospel. That's quite that's awesome. We're an overnight camp. We run year-round. It's not just summer. In the winter, we have the weekends. So January, February, March, we're booked solid with children's programs and teenagers, teen groups. We've got 6 weeks of summer camping for junior camping. We've got one week for teen camping. And prior to that, we have Christian Youth in Action, which is a 10-day intensive training course for teenagers where they put the rubber to their feet, and they go out and they do open air ministries and get them equipped for the work of the ministry, and they come back as staff ministering to those boys and girls that come. We have over 300 volunteer staff just for our summer, and we have over 200 slots to fill for our winter programs. We can take 102 campers every week, but we feed almost 200 people every week. We have a 2-person policy where it's a child protection policy where a child cannot, an adult cannot be alone with a child where they cannot be seen. And anybody that comes to camp has to have a background check done on them. And if they don't want to give out their social security number for a background check, that's awesome. They don't need to come to camp, because camp is for the camper. And the philosophy, camp is for the camper, is found in Philippians chapter 2. Look not every man on his own things, but every man on the things of others. So we're there serving for the kids. And it doesn't take too long. Once they get on our grounds, they find out, you tell them, hey, I love you, glad you're here. 2 hours with them, they'll know if you're telling the truth. So it's a neat thing. And like everybody has reiterated here, there are kids that don't all have the option to hear the words, I love you. And for the most part, they don't even know what love is, much less what a biblical love is. And you have an opportunity to share the gospel. And the week is centered around the gospel in the person of our Lord Jesus Christ. And nobody can live in that kind of environment for a week and not be changed or affected by it. So it's a neat thing. And for more information, you go to www.maincampgoodnews.org. And that gives you right to Camp Good News. So it's good.
Perfect time, too.
Well, our camp is located in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, which is in the Berkshires. It's at the Lakeside Christian Camp and Retreat Center. We just leased the property, but of course we have to be compatible to their worldview to be there. They're wonderful people. It's on a beautiful lake, and we have plenty of recreational opportunities. Now, we've always made this offer. We have people coming as far as California, United Kingdom, Michigan, Florida, and we tell people we will do our best to arrange carpooling if necessary, or we can pick you up at train stations and bus stations and airports and that sort of thing. We do that. People fly in and fly out, and we're about 45 minutes from Albany and about 2.5 hours from Boston and about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes of Hartford. So these are the places we can get in. We're right off the Mass Turnpike if you're driving, exit 1 or 2. And you don't hear the traffic. We're a good distance away. So we're in a city, but actually it's a very rural, we're right on the outskirts, and it's a nice rural setting where we are. And we have rustic cabins. They all have showers. We have, for the ladies, we give the ladies a little better preference. We have dormitories like six to a room. And the food is excellent. With good staff people. We have field trips where we're taking a hike up Mount Monadnock, which is an optional hike, the highest elevation in Massachusetts. And thankfully, you can drive up and drive down too. So, and we're taking a trip to the Springfield Armory Museum, which is about an hour from camp. We do that. The whole camp comes. And we've never turned away a worthy camper or family for lack of funds. As a charitable trust, we keep the cost pretty low as it is. $350 for the whole week. That would be for 13 and over. And 13 and under, 12 and under would be $250, and then 3 and under are free. And we have made tuition assistance available, you know, and what's interesting too is that we are a Christ-centered camp. We're not a denominational camp. But we do believe that rights come from God. The purpose of government is to protect God-given rights. And we have classes on our American godly heritage. A lot of people don't have the appreciation of our unique history. It's a Christian-based history, and we reinforce that throughout the week. And
Lovely, thank you very much.
Yeah. Once again, the Living Waters is a Bible camp located up in northern Maine. We're about 100 miles north of Bangor on East Grand Lake. And as I mentioned before, it has really 3 major aspects of our summer program. Overnight resident youth camps, as well as family camping, and the wilderness adventure trips. And as with most of the other camps that are here, you know, as far as finances go, we have a philosophy at camp where we, as well, do not want any kids not coming to camp because of cost. So, basically what we do is when we get requests or inquiries about finances, you know, if the resources are not available at home through their family, we find out if they're, you know, regular church attenders somewhere, because most of the churches that support the camp have some kind of scholarship program for their kids as well. But if that's not the case, then we'll make arrangements with the parents to help subsidize their week at camp, or if we have a lot of kids, we usually have 50 or 75 kids every summer come to camp absolutely for free. So we don't want kids staying home because of cost, and that's what we've always done since the beginning. But you know, we just firmly believe that, you know, the camping experience is an experience that all the kids need to have the opportunity to enjoy and utilize the beautiful creation that God has given to us, and take that opportunity to try to minister to their needs and let them know that God loves them and that we love them, and that they have an awesome experience while they're there at camp with us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Edge Camps is actually is underneath Edgewood Ministries. We sit in Dublin, New Hampshire. We're literally in the shadows of Mount Monadnock there, and it's just a great place. We're on a about 225 acres. Used to be an old farm. It's actually called Stag's Head Farm. It's absolutely gorgeous. Our camps this year, like I said, we have fine arts and educational and also sports camps. We have a music camp this year, which we have Mac and Beth Lynch that are coming to do our music camp for us. They're going to do voice and choir and also piano. We have Professor Hutt, Josh Hutt from Pensacola, who's coming to do our drama camp. We have for the culinary arts, we have a man by the name of Matt Tracy, who he used to work at the Wilds down in North Carolina, where in a given day he'd feed somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 meals a day down there. So he knows how to cook a little bit. We have our robotics. We're excited this year for our robotics camp. We have Professor Woodham. He's head of the robotics down at Bob Jones University. He actually retired to go teach at Bob Jones. He retired from GM and Ford, where he was the team leader of the robotics there. So we're real excited to get him. And then for our soccer, we have a man by the name of Phil Hubbard. He's actually from up here in Maine. He's certified through the MLS and also FIFA soccer for training. And then we have a man from out in Ohio. His name is Dave Heron, that's come to the volleyball, where he has been in volleyball about as long as I've been alive and knows his stuff. And so that's the type of camps that we have. When it comes to the pricing for our music, drama, soccer, and volleyball camp, per student is $250. For the culinary arts camp, because there's a lot more to that camp, it's $325. And then for the robotics, which we're doing, the Vex Corporation is the type of system that we're using, it's $500. The one thing that we try to do is we try to keep it as low as possible, because as we looked at some of the camps out there, just like robotics, for a week of robotics camps at most of these places is somewhere between $800 and $1,200. And so we're trying to keep it as low as possible for them, and we're very thankful that we have the area that we do, because that's why we can do that.
As I mentioned earlier, New England Frontier Camp is in southwestern Maine. The easiest landmarks that I usually use to identify where we are is we're right next to the town of Freiburg, where the Freiburg Fair is, in North Conway, New Hampshire. So most folks in New England know where one of those two locations are. We're literally in the next town over, and just blessed to be in such a beautiful community. Our programs, again, as seems to be the common theme, we work very hard to keep our programs as affordable as possible. Our programs for our boys ages 8 to 11 is $280 for the week, and the boys that are 12 to 17 are $320 for the week. And again, work very hard to give them them and their families and their parents the best bang for their buck. But we also have a very firm belief that no young man should miss out on the opportunity to go to camp because of finances. So we have a pretty aggressive scholarship program that allows us to not turn anyone away if they're not able to pay for the camp registration. One of the things that I want to touch on as well, our staff is typically these are young men that have come to us up through the program. So not only do we know them and vet them through background checks and also provide for them in-depth training, most of these boys as a staff, we've known them and watched them grow up and know their families. So that's a key component to providing the atmosphere that we do. And we also do provide a rustic atmosphere, which a lot of our campers will come to appreciate. They may not appreciate it when they first arrive, but they do come to appreciate that. And we see that even through all our programs, even some of the dads that come out for some of the father-son weekends and things like that, that after a couple hours of staring at the box at their hand and it's not giving them the information that they're looking for, they start to look around and realize that it's a big, beautiful world. So we love the fact that we have no cell reception at our camp, and it's great to unplug and see people unplug and see those the fog lift from their eyes every once in a while. That's really one of the keys to our camp. Our cabins are about as rustic as they could possibly get outside of being a tent, which they are not. But the only power in our cabins is the 9-volt battery that powers the smoke detectors. So we're truly a rustic outdoor experience.
Wonderful. We're in our last 5 minutes, and there are 5 of you, so let's do a lightning round of why should somebody come to your camp? Go.
Well, if somebody comes to our camp, they know right off the bat that we want them there. Every camper that comes to camp, whether it's a child or a teenager, has somebody who's praying for them by name. And at the end of the week, they get to write a letter to that prayer partner, and sometimes that connection lasts for a lifetime. But many of the kids, I used to think little kids have little problems and big kids have bigger problems, teenagers have big problems, and adults have astronomical problems. I don't think that anymore, because some of the kids have bigger problems that an average adult would never have to face. But they come to camp and they get answers to the questions that they won't ask anybody else. The typical week, we probably have 50% of church kids, 50% unchurched kids. And coming to camp makes faith real in their lives. They come and it's like a family group. There's 6 campers per 2 counselors in every cabin, a senior counselor and a junior counselor. And they interact and they intermingle, and it's like, wow. It's probably for some of them, it's the most stable environment that they'll have all year, 1 week. So what we try to do is somebody comes to camp who has no church affiliation, we try to point them in the direction of a good Bible-believing church, contact the pastor, and is there any way you could follow up on this individual? Because we don't want their experience to be 1 week out of the year with the Word of God, and that's proven tremendously, and that impacts our relationship with the church. And then the church gets involved with the young man or the young lady, and it's tremendous. And the little ones that come in diapers have their own program. If the mom would be in the kitchen or as a waitress, well, that little one would be in the sleeping with her at night. But it starts in the Kickapoo program. That's the little ones. And then they can't wait to be in the 8 years old to be in the Mighty Mohawk or the Darling Delaware. And then they grow up in the ranks. And when they get to be teenagers, they don't want to come to camp anymore. They want to serve. So we give them a lot of responsibility, not a lot of authority. And they grab a hold of that and they run with it. And what a blessing. Then they go off and they get married. And they come back with their kids.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a great place.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, Camp Constitution offers, we offer a life-affirming and/or life-changing experience, lifetime friendships. Ladies come with their children, but they don't have to do any housework for the whole week because it's all done, everything's there. So it's a great incentive. So there's a good place to meet folks. Ladies meet like-minded people. My whole family participates. And my children were campers, and now they're staff members, volunteer staff members, counselors and teachers. And it's a great place to learn and also to take that learning and then put it to rubber to the road. So we're training the next generation of people who are going to replace me and the instructors there. It's a wholesome environment. While we do have internet access, we take the cell phones away from the campers, and we don't allow any music being played during the week unless it's the piano inside the hall or something like that. We do have campfire, and the only time you can't, we do encourage campers to bring their instruments, and we sing some hymns, tell corny jokes, do corny skits. And some of the people who've never experienced this, like the second, third day, they just think it's the coolest thing in the world, and they cry because they have to go home. So, and we have people coming again as far as, we had a man drive from California all the way to our camp because he said he wanted to see it. We have families that drive from Michigan, and one of the gals has been, this will be like her 6th or 7th year, she marks the dates off on the calendar. And I think that's, to me, it's what makes it all worthwhile. So campconstitution.net is where you can find more about us.
Thank you. Roger?
Yeah, Living Waters is, as I mentioned before, it's just a beautiful location on East Grand Lake, a very pristine area. East Grand Lake was primarily, the shoreline of East Grand Lake has been for years and years owned by paper companies. And over the last decade or so, those have changed hands into different companies and holding companies and so forth. But just recently, a huge portion of the shoreline of East Grand Lake was purchased by a conservation group. So they purchased 26 miles of shoreline and over 30,000 acres. That's never going to be developed. And people, one of the things that impresses people when they come up to camp, and especially if they've come from New Hampshire or southern Maine, and they can go out on the lake and go 6 or 8 miles up the lake and come back and not see a boat. They're the ones out there. And so it's just a beautiful, pristine area. Kids can come and enjoy a lot of fun activities between the horses and the sports programs and all the waterfront activities we do. And they can come and be assured that it's going to be a safe environment. And with the training that our counselors and staff go through, and in the food service and all areas of the camp, there's training and certifications that that the state requires, and that we do it over and above that to make sure that everybody is there, enjoys a fun week, a safe week, and it's a life-changing week, and we just encourage people to come. And it's, as I mentioned, it's a good time to get away from a lot of the distractions that you have in your everyday life at home. And as has been mentioned, the technology aspect of it is very limited at camp. And what there is there is limited by the staff, as far as cell phone use and computer use, and so it gives an opportunity to really connect with other individuals. Living Waters is a real family atmosphere, and most of our staff and a lot of our guests that are repeat customers every year come back year after year, so you see the same people that you met the year before or the year before that. So. It's just a great place for a week of relaxation, physical relaxation and spiritual refreshment in a fun environment, in a safe environment, if you want to get a week to enjoy that.
Wonderful, thank you.
It is amazing that when you take the phones away, how much kids actually have fun. We found the same thing at our camp where, the first thing that happens is they have to turn their phones off and they can't have them the whole time. And it's amazing how much they actually learn. Sometimes they learn more in that week than they learned in the school year. They think that phone is all their information, and yet it's not. Our camp is, of course, different than these camps because we specialize more in their special interests that they have. But Edge camps got started because we were seeing that there was, in the New England area, there really wasn't anything there for Christian kids to go to. They were mainly going to like the University of New Hampshire, they're going to Keene State, or these other places where you don't know what's happening, in the dorm. You don't know what's being said, and we realized, we need to have a place for the kids that are going to Christian school or homeschoolers. They can go and feel safe, and then also they can improve in their relationship with God. That's the one thing that we're really trying to show them, is that even if they don't go out to be a pastor or a missionary or a Christian school teacher, they're still a Christian. And they still need to be a testimony to all those around them. And that's why I'm really looking forward to this year with the guy that's come to our robotics, because that's the one thing that he stresses, is how much you can be a witness and you can actually impact more people than a pastor or a missionary in the workplace. And that's what he's going to relate to the campers that are coming. And that's what we want to relate to the campers, is that they, no matter what their interest is, and no matter what they're going to do later in life, they can still be a testimony and a witness to all those around them.
So to find information about New England Frontier Camp, it's easy enough. nefc.org for New England Frontier Camp. We're kind of unique like that, right? Why would somebody want to come, or why should somebody come to Frontier Camp? Basically, if you are a young man, aged 8 to 17, and are looking for an opportunity to grow, to expand your horizons a little bit, try some new things, make some friends that will be lifelong friends, definitely come out to New England Frontier Camp. If you are a parent or a grandparent and you know a young man that falls into that age bracket, and you think that you'd like to see them unplug from the world and plug into the Lord, New England Frontier Camp is a fantastic opportunity to do that. All our campers, each night that they're with us, we also do a campfire, and have really made a conscious and active effort to be sure that the gospel message is preached clearly at every campfire. because one of the things that we've come to realize is that our time with these young men is short. And I'm sure everybody up here would agree that if we could have our campers for even longer than we do, we'd be glad to do that, just to have more time to be able to reach them, not just to teach them archery and riflery and canoeing and all the things that we do, all the fun stuff that we do, but most importantly to reach them with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so that is obviously our primary goal and our most important goal, but we want to do it too in a way that gives these boys the opportunity to, again, unplug from the world a little bit and plug into God through His creation and the outdoor experience.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you keeping to the format, but also being so informative and for being there for kids that want, and families that want to keep God in their lives, no matter what they're learning about during the summer. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me.
Good luck this
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.